Today is a day I'll never forget. What started as a hobby turned into something much bigger. Something that has given me purpose, happiness, and an entirely new perspective on life. Welcome to my first ever 12-hour endurance race on iRacing. The Sebring Special. I had exactly zero experience in sim racing before I started this channel just a few months ago. I'd also never made a single YouTube video, or any video for that matter. I'd always been fascinated by sim racing, but after years of watching other people do it on YouTube, I finally decided to jump in. The Noob to 5,000 iRating challenge was born. I had no clue what I was doing, the enormity of the challenge, or how it would take over my life. I wanted to learn, I wanted to improve, and I wanted to do it with a community and share and celebrate their stories too. Over the past few months, I've been showing my warts and all progress along the way from my first ever practice to my first ever win, which took me 91 races. Taking the tips from our subscribers to improve my racecraft, and thanks to the amazing work of our Discord community, we now have weekly community races and an amazing 6 newly formed SRK endurance teams entered for this special. Fast forward to today and the Sebring 12-hour race. I've done plenty of races in iRacing now, but never anything like this. And now here I am, about to jump into a race that's 4 hours of driving in a single day. Over 12,000 people entered this year's special, which gives you an idea of just how popular this event is, and huge respect to iRacing for putting it on. Sebring can be an absolutely brutal track, with its bumpy surface, high-speed corners and brake-busting hairpins. On top of that, I'm racing alongside Orhan from Norway, who we'll call by his nickname Oreo from now on so I don't butcher his name every time, and Jean-Louis from Belgium. We only met a few weeks ago online, and we've only got one race of endurance experience between us. This was also my first official race in the McLaren GT3, quite the jump from the trusty old Mazda. So what could possibly go wrong? Oreo was our fastest guy in practice, and so naturally that made him a shoe-in to qualify for us. And he did it brilliantly with a 2:01.3, which gave us a 14th place on the grid in our GT3 group. But the real chaos happened right at the start. We didn't know at the time, but it was all caused by an absolutely shocking decision by the 4th placed LMP2. The first one is totally forgivable, too much acceleration, cold tyres, and he lost the corner and took out 2 of his fellow class. But the second was an absolute shocker. After the first crash, he decided to try and make it to the pits in front of the whole pack of oncoming GT3s, and chaos was about to ensue. Oreo was right in the middle of it, but somehow he managed to avoid a total meatball by some absolute miracle. Unfortunately, he took some damage in the process. We had a big decision to make in the first few seconds of our first endurance, and he decided he could take the car around on a full stint. With some hero driving skills, he drove on for the full 26 laps without a front bumper or grille, and incredibly, he came into the pits in 10th place. That damage had to be repaired, and we lost a few laps in the process before Jean-Louis could take us into stint 2 in 16th place. Jean-Louis was the only guy in the team who had experience in endurance, and that was just one 6-hour race at Spa a few weeks ago. With barely an incident point to his name, he came home from the second stint damage-free, and it was my turn to run my first ever laps in an endurance event. I was so nervous at this point that every extremity in my body was tingling, but the live stream chat, you guys, were absolutely amazing, sending messages of encouragement the whole time. We had some practice together beforehand, but there is no way to emulate the pressure of a race with the 60 cars on track, all going at different speeds, and in the back of your mind, all you can think about is not wanting to let the team down by meatballing out so early. In lap 70, I misjudged the brakes and had a close shave with the poor guy in front of me who must have thought I was going to be in the back of his car. Just 1 lap later, I managed my first official endurance overtake when the same car I nearly hit earlier went off and I took advantage on the straight. Confidence growing, I managed to take another overtake on lap 75 and I was starting to settle into the race. Jean-Louis was brilliant all day at spotting, and his calm demeanour got me around my 26 laps relatively incident-free. Whew! Oh, that was hot.
Good run, Case. It was awesome.
Hot, sweaty and flustered, I took a short break to get some fresh air and came back to see some amazing messages from the live stream, which gave me the confidence to keep going throughout the day. I'd somehow managed to gain 3 places to put us in 13th at the end of the stint, and after the pit stop, Oreo started his stint in 14th place. Some fantastic overtaking from Oreo saw him push us up to 9th place, but unfortunately after another great overtake in lap 94, Oreo decided that life was better without a front end again and had a scrape with the Porsche. Just 4 laps later, the same Porsche in the same corner, who had been under pressure from Oreo, had a wobble from the pressure and we regained the place. Despite the lack of parts again, he was still overtaking cars and his cool demeanour helped him to complete his whole stint and he got home safely. Unfortunately for us, the repair was a significant one and Jean-Louis started stint 5 in 19th place. Another close call on turn 1 meant that I was struggling to keep it on track. And then 3 overtakes in a row, even though the last one was more than a little fortunate. Unfortunately, my lack of experience was about to show as I entered a mighty 4-lap battle with a white McLaren ahead of me. I knew I was faster and I tried to put as much pressure on as I could. When I finally had a run on him, my adrenaline got the better of me and I didn't anticipate an early break and clipped his rear wing. It was totally my fault and sadly that gave us both damage. Our car had to be repaired for 6 minutes, pushing us down the grid from 18th place to 21st place. Now, halfway through the race, we decided on a new target, a top 20 finish. Oreo got back to his overtaking ways and started closing the gap before a touch of the grass in the chicane meant a quick trip to the barrier. With minimal damage and a short spell to the pits, he was back out again, this time encountering a ghost car. At this stage, we thought the car had been taken out of the race under iRacing's new ping guidelines, only for it to appear again 20 seconds later at turn 1. Fearing this could be a problem, Oreo managed to pass Casper the Ghost in the hairpin and marched onwards. Jean-Louis took over and had an absolute flyout with overtake after overtake. Trying to claw back that 20th position, he was overtaking cars that had already lapped us and were 15 places ahead of us. Unfortunately, a bit of close racing and a lot of netcode saw him bumped into the grass, but with minimal damage, he was able to carry on. The narrowest of misses with the car leaving the pits had us all on the edge of our seats, but he brought home the car safely in 19th position. With the track getting cooler, there were positions to be had, with 2 small problems. 1, we only had 1 incident point left before we got our first drive through. And 2, it was time to reveal why they call it Sunset Bend. 7 laps later, I picked up an off track and into the pits I went to serve my penalty. I was likely to blame for this one, focusing on nailing my braking point rather than my mirrors. Luckily, no damage to the car meant we were able to carry on regardless. A bit of aggressive driving on my part saw us grab another overtake and allow you to fully appreciate the sunset bend in all its glory. One more overtake from Jean-Louis on the outside of turn 1, and we were starting to think a top 20 might be possible. Oreo did what he does best and went on an overtaking spree. His first victim succumbed to Oreo's cries of pressure and promptly threw himself off the track. His second was a smart overtake on the Sunset Straight, and amazingly it allowed Jean-Louis to leave the pits again for us in 17th place. At this stage in the race, we were all absolutely exhausted. Jean-Louis had to slow down to avoid a spinning car ahead and was promptly taken out from behind. He made up another place in turn 1 and we were back on for that top 20 finish. A clean overtake on the 9th place car showed that we had the pace to compete, and Jean-Louis took us into the pits in 16th place. Sadly, some small repairs meant that Oreo started the penultimate stint in 19th place. But we still had that top 20 in sight. It was business as usual in his favourite turn 1, trying to give me the best shot in the final stint. After a super clean stint, the 11th hour of fatigue kicked in and unfortunately he clipped the curb and touched the wall into Sunset Straight. Knowing his absolute detest for front and rear wings, he then decided to back into the wall and take out his rear end, because who needs them anyway? No surprises though that he still managed to overtake people and set the fastest lap of the day with no rear end at all. So after 310 laps with just 20 to go, it was down to me to take the car home. My first ever stint in the dark, I was very, very nervous about letting the boys down. I left the pits in 18th place and all I had to do was not lose 3 places. I gained a place immediately and lost it again within seconds, taking our incident points to 70. This meant I had to do another drive-through penalty and I was getting worried I might fall at the last hurdle as the fatigue was kicking in strong. I almost pulled over in the pits too, not really knowing where I was about now. The sense of camaraderie was amazing as those final laps happened. All the guys from the Discord had jumped in the chat, the live stream was still watching and sending celebratory messages. And as we crossed the finish line, that's when I realised everything had changed for me. We only finished 19th, and yet still, here were all these people sharing our success of completing our first ever 12-hour endurance, sharing the success of other teams and genuinely sharing a moment of community that I've been so sorely missing. To me, iRacing and sim racing in general is more than just a game. I would do it all again in a heartbeat, but for now it's a shower, a sleep and a chance to reflect on my best decision yet. Whatever happens with this channel, we've all made some lifelong friends, and that is always going to be something that I'll see as a huge personal achievement. If you're on the fence about trying sim racing, I recommend you find a good community and just give it a go. I want to say thank you to everyone that supported me throughout this. Thank you to Dan Hampton, who really did most of, if not all of the work on these endurance races and put together 6 teams. Special mention to Connor Pink, who's always helping me out behind the scenes. He's always got unlimited patience and I can't thank you enough, mate. And to all the Discorders and subscribers that have just formed this incredible community that I'm really, really proud of. So a very good night from Sebring. Thank you for watching.